What are some signs that a woman will show you when she is turned on? This is an interesting one. A lot of times when a woman is turned on, she'll do things that make you think she's not. So she'll get quiet. She might kind of shift in her seat a little bit and kind of look away from you maybe. She might start talking a lot or get fidgety. I remember I was hanging out with a woman a few weeks ago. We were having a drink. This was the first time we'd hung out. We met at a bar, and then this was the first time we hung out after that. We were just talking about the night we met and, you know, what her and her friends did afterwards, after we parted ways. I said something like, I noticed you when you first walked in, and I couldn't take my eyes off you, and I knew I was going to talk to you that night. I was just sort of waiting for the right moment, because you were in a position where there was nowhere for me to like approach or stand next to you, because it was kind of crowded. And so I told her this, and she got quiet and kind of shifted a little in her seat. She had her legs crossed, and she sort of kind of looked down and away and like made less eye contact with me. And her face became less expressive, almost like she looked bored. But I knew that this was sort of an overcompensation for a lot of feeling that was going on inside of her. So there was a lot of, she was feeling turned on inside and was trying to hide this. And she kind of went overboard in her attempt to hide it by looking really unemotional. Well, there are the obvious cues, when a woman makes an effort to talk to you, when a woman smiles a lot when you talk to her, laughs, seems to think that everything you say is funny. There are more subtle cues like when a woman is explaining herself a lot, kind of giving you her resume. I remember when I sort of realized this, it was back when I was living in Chicago, and I went out and met this really attractive Hispanic girl. I think she was Puerto Rican, and she had done her hair up really nice. Now, I think that was the first thing I said to her was, "I love your hair." She said she was in school, and I said, "Oh, what are you studying?" And then she just went into, she was studying to be a teacher because she wanted to go back to Puerto Rico and help like kids in low-income school or low-income areas. And then, she told me like all the, she was studying this and that, and she had visited and volunteered for a while. This was all, like, she just went off and started telling me all this before I even asked. And so, right off the bat, I knew that I could feel that she was kind of trying to impress me or explain herself to me, trying to show me that she was more than just a pretty face. Women can get fidgety. The kind of the cliche, when you watch like the movies, Hollywood movies, where there's a girl at the bar and she kind of glances over with this coy look and tucks her hair behind her ears, licks her lips. That doesn't happen. I mean, maybe here and there, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. I guess the question is when can you tell if she's turned on? So there's kind of indicators in general of when a woman is noticing you and wants to talk to you. And that would be maybe just like if you're at a bar or something like that, a party. If you look over and notice that a woman across the room is looking at you, or you look over at her, she glances at you, you lock eyes for a beat, then maybe you look down and look over to her again and you meet eyes once more, that she likes you, so you should talk to her. Any more than that, if you try to meet eyes with her any more than that, you're going to look needy and you're going to look like you're scared to approach her. In terms of how to tell when a woman is turned on, like when she's horny, if she's, you guys are alone together or you guys are hanging out together, if she's comfortable with you touching her, which you should be, and how to do that is a kind of a different question, but if she's comfortable with you touching her and doesn't kind of pull back, like she cuddles up next to you, like if you put your arm around her, or if you take her hand and she lets you, that means she's turned on. Just like, you're turned on because she's a woman and she's attractive. Same for her. So again, doubting or kind kind of assuming that women aren't sexual, that they're not horny, is the fundamental mistake. And so if she's hanging out with you and she seems to be enjoying herself, she's turned on. In terms of like, when is she like horny and ready to have sex? You know, you're going to be kissing her, touching her, and you know, she's going to be breathing heavy and sighing and touching you back, and kind of not pushing you away or resisting. Now, I will say that sometimes a woman will kind of pull away or get a little nervous, and that doesn't necessarily mean she's not turned on. That's an indicator that she's not totally comfortable. So, as a man, if we're horny, we're probably comfortable too. There's not a lot of reason to not be comfortable with a woman, unless you're just kind of worried about performance or you're feeling pressured or whatever. For the woman, she has anxieties that men don't have when it comes to sex. So for women, it's not just being horny. There's also this other part, which is, you know, a bit of anxiety, worrying about how you're going to see her if she has sex with you too easily or too fast. What you're going to think of her body is a big one. In general, women are a bit more protective of their bodies because they're smaller and not, you know, physically they're weaker than men in general, and they're the ones that get penetrated. So, you know, they're the ones that have the baby inside of them, and so for a woman, sex is feels like she's giving up control. It's sort of a surrender experience. And that's good. As a man, you know, we kind of feel like that might be a bad thing, but as a woman, that feels really good. That's exciting for her. I'm basically trying to give you sort of a woman's perspective, like what she's actually thinking versus, you know, what guys might think that a woman's thinking. The fundamental rule is, you know, is she still here? Is she still talking to you? Does she seem relaxed? Is she smiling? Just assume she's turned on. And then just keep talking, keep touching, keep escalating. Don't worry too much about it. Don't worry about how turned on she is. I should say one more thing. The biggest way that a woman will communicate that she's turned on is through her eyes. And she will sort of look up at you and kind of, a lot of times won't say anything or maybe get quiet, but she will lock eyes with you and not say anything. It's called, like, I call it sticky eyes. So you're looking into her eyes, she's looking back into yours, and there's sort of a twinkle in her eyes, and there's no words being said. So maybe you and she say something, you know, you say something, she says something, and then you keep looking into her eyes, and she keeps looking back, and then, you know, after like a few beats to where it's obvious that it's not just normal eye contact, it's like a little bit stickier. And then she looks down. So that's a big indicator, is when a woman sort of has that sparkle in her eyes, looking into your eyes a lot without saying anything is a big one. And that's usually an indicator that you can kiss her, that she wants to be kissed. And then, you know, if you're alone with a woman, that would be an indicator that it's time to maybe lead her to the bedroom. If you're already in the bedroom and you kind of are locking eyes and kissing, you know, moving forward from there, getting more intimate. If you're in a situation where, you know, you've been talking, there's a connection there, and you know, you're thinking about taking her home, or, you know, going, you know, bringing her back to your place or going somewhere else, you know, that locking eyes is a good indicator, you know, that, you know, it's time for you to say, all right, let's get out of here. So the gauge in terms of the sticky eyes thing, as far as like, you know, how long is it? Trying to count or think in terms of like time is not a good way to think about it. It is very intuitive, and the more experience you get, the more you'll kind of just know. But if you're having a normal conversation, maybe with like a guy friend or maybe someone at work, a platonic conversation, think about the amount of eye contact that goes on there. Now, imagine that after every time someone said something, the other person kept their eyes, the two people kept their eyes on each other. I mean, I do this right off the bat when I first meet a woman, is I'll you know, maybe introduce myself or whatever, and then I'll look her in the eyes, and then before I introduce myself to her friend, I'll keep my eyes locked on hers, and then I'll look at her friend. So it's, you know, hey, I'm Brian, 1, 2, 3, 4, hey, I'm Brian. So that 1, 2, 3, 4 is about how long I'll keep my eyes locked on her. Also, you know, if she says something to you, you know, she tells you, yeah, I just volunteered with these kids, and we went sledding. Saying, "Oh, that's awesome," and then looking her in the eye for like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I used to do that too. I used to study, or I used to volunteer at this, after-school program, whatever. So sort of that 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a few beats longer than a platonic conversation.